So we're going to go through the different types of reports. And it's important to remember that the PAT data is just another colour to add to the palette when we're painting that picture of the students in our school. So we're going to have a look at the different PAT reports that are available to you. The bands report, and it gives an overview of students. It gives the bands and the band descriptors. You can actually filter down on student groups, year groups, and down on class groups. And you can filter down on the students themselves. And you can link directly to the Teacher Resource Centre. So how do we access the bands report? There's two different ways we can do that. We can go to the Students tab, or we can go to the Reports tab. Going to the Students tab lets us filter on different students. So let's go to Students tab. And you can see here we have our list of students. I'm going to select a year level. So I'm going to select year 7 because the data is a little bit old. I'm going to select all 44 students in that. And then I'm going to click on Generate Reports. Then I'm going to scroll down through here. You can see that I can access PAT Grammar and Punctuation, PAT Maths and PAT Reading. I'm going to do PAT Maths. It gives me the option to bring up the different reports. So I can get a report on test usage, I can get a bands report, a longitudinal report and a group report. So if I click on the bands report, I can select the range from when the data is going to be accessed, click Generate Report, click View Report, and the bands report is now evident there. So you can see here with the bands report, you can see that 47 students were sitting at that band 125 to 134, and above 155 I had one student sitting at the top, and then down below there's 2 students down in the lowest band. So really easily I can capture what it's like across the whole school, and then I can also filter on the different years. So I can see now that year 5, that's the breakdown for year 5. Okay, and scrolling over that, we can see that one student's down in the 95 to 104. And then we can scroll over that. If I wanted to find out who that student was, I can actually click on it, and then I can go down and I can see that Ava Hodges was 102.9, and down here is Bianca Manning at 101. Okay, so I can actually look at those details, and then underneath I can actually see where those people are in all the detail down below. So I can see the band, I can see what year level they're in, and when they completed the test. The bands report also lets you access the Teacher Resource Centre directly from there. So clicking on that will take you to the Teacher Resource Centre. It also lets you have a look at the band descriptions. So if I click on band descriptions, I can see that 95 to 104, this is what the students should be able to achieve in that band. So reading through that, if I want to move these students up to the next level, I can click on the level above, and I can actually read through what they need to achieve to get into that band. So that can really drive my teaching and learning for those students. We can obviously download that as a PDF as well. We could copy and paste things from that to put directly into our differentiated plans. So that's the bands report. We'll go back to that. You can see down below is all the students. I can click on that and it will filter through the scale scores. So lowest scale score, as we said, Ava. And then we can have a look through all their details as well. If I click on Ava, I then get a breakdown of her individual test. So Maths Test 3, Okay, so we can see here which questions she got correct and which questions she got incorrect. I can come up to here and sort by question difficulty, okay, or by strand. So having a look at that, obviously measurement is an area that I need to focus on with Ava. And she got a few things right in number. But again, that was our lowest student. So those individual reports are really good to be able to drill down on a student's data. Okay, so the norm reference report enables us to see where students sit against the national norm and compare years and give a breakdown of percentile rankings. It's good to note that ASA calculates norm referencing from data towards the end of the year, around November. That's why our diocesan schedule has testing done towards the end of term 3. So it's as close as possible to that norm referencing time, which gives us the clearest amount of data. So to access those reports, so instead of going to students, I can click on reports, and I'll show you what it looks like that's slightly differently. So click on reports, click on Pat Maths, click on norm reference. So I've also got the option to do a bands report and a group report from the reports tab. Year level, we're going to click on year 5, generate. Okay, and that's where I get that cohort of students, and I can see the box and whisker graph of that cohort. So if I want to norm reference it, we can see this is the norm referencing sample, and this is the actual students. Okay, so we can see the breakdown there. About our average, most of our students are sitting in the top part of the norm referencing, and it tells us the bands as well, and then I can click on the bands, I get the band descriptor. I can also click on the students and again get their individual report for that test. Third report that we can access is the group report, which then gives you your whole class or whole year and the questions that they answered correctly or incorrectly in the test that they sat. It also shows you the item difficulty of the question. It gives a class percentage. It is a nice clear visual way for the student's class to be viewed, where incorrect answers can stand out nice and clearly, or correct answers can stand out nice and clearly. It gives you the percentage that is incorrect in that class, and then you can also filter down on the students' individual reports as well. So it's really good to inform targeted teaching. So how do we get to that? Okay, so going back in and looking at students again, select the students, generate report, Pat Maths, then I want to go down to the group report. Okay, so I want to find out how these students went in their test 5. Okay, so I'm looking at the year 5 data. I want to find out how they're going. I want to see what I need to do with this cohort of students. So you can see I can set the range for this test, generate, view, and the group report breaks down whether they got each question correct within a test. Okay, so you can see the question numbers across the top, and if it's green with the tick, they got it correct. If it's red, it's incorrect, and it tells you what they actually answered. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to compare the student results to year 5, and that's going to give me the stay9, and it's going to give me the percentile ranking. Okay. With all PAT tests, the scale score is probably your most useful measure, because the scale score is a continuum all the way through. So here we can filter on the scale score, and if I click on that, it's going to put it from lowest to highest. So we can see down there. So I can see my lowest, I can see what areas they got correct and what questions they got incorrect. I can click on it again and it can filter from the highest scale score. And you can see Donna did really well there. Okay, along the top, we've got a percentage correct within this group. So at the moment they're just ordered question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. If I click on the percentage correct, I can then very easily see the areas that we need to focus on as a class. So only 18% got question 15 correct. And you can see here the question difficulty was 128.3. So not overly difficult, but you can see the majority of people there got that question incorrect. So if I was to click on question 15 to find out what it was, it actually brings up that exact question. And it tells me which students, how many students answered A, how many students answered B, how many students answered C, which was the correct answer, and how many got D. Okay, so from that, really drives my teaching for the class, and it enables me to see, okay, so I need to do some work with this. It has direct links to the Australian curriculum and our New South Wales curriculum, and down the bottom here it will take me directly to the Teacher Resource Centre for the next steps on where to go with this activity. So this question, test 5, question 15, measurement and geometry, okay, and then I can go down. So students should know how to get this correct. They need to know how to add addition of 10, addition of negative numbers, and giving and following instructions using directional language. So they're actual lessons. If I click through to those, they're actual lessons. It again has the question, and it has these common errors and misconceptions here. So you can go down and have a look at how many people answered A, and you might go, okay, so this is why they got that wrong. Underneath, you've then got some teaching strategies, some teaching ideas on how you can move students forward or develop those concepts that were required for this test. So the Teacher Resource Centre becomes a really valuable tool for teachers in the classroom. Okay, so then I can also go through here and say I wanted to have a look at Tyson. I click on Tyson and I get his individual test graph, where I can then sort through question difficulty or strand, and I get a breakdown of how Tyson went. Okay, so maybe measurements, something we need to work on. How do we track growth within the ASA PAT platform? Now, ASA is very clear on the fact that only a few scale score points is typical growth for a 12-month period. It's not actually defined as a particular number because everyone grows at a different rate. Okay, so everyone's unique in their learning style, and in the younger years there's usually a higher learning curve, but then it might plateau out as they get older. Or you might have someone that goes high, plateaus out, but then spikes again because of various factors. One report that is good for showing how a student has achieved growth is the longitudinal report. As you can see here, this is one student, and you can see from all the different tests that they've done, you can see how they have progressed. Now you can only get the longitudinal report by going through this Students tab. Longitudinal report shows you how a student has gone over a series of tests. So we need to select the range and put in a name for our report, generate the report, view report. And then as you can see, we've got those 44 students across the 3 years, so 2016, 17, 18. So in 2016, they were actually Year 5 students, so I can set the norm referencing for the first period to Year 5. And I can see I've got a box and whisker chart in there that talks about, that shows us against the norm referencing. Okay, you can also see the list of students and how they perform throughout the test. Now to see growth and to see how they've travelled over those 3 reports, I'm going to actually click on chart options. I'm going to change it from box plot to scatter plot, and I'm going to update. I'm going to remove this there. Now each one of these dots stands for a student. So there's Ava again. If I was to click on Ava, we can see that from Year 5 to Year 6, she did show quite a considerable amount of growth, but then plateaued off again. And she's still one of our lowest students within this cohort. Okay, so I can click on another student, so maybe it's here, maybe we want to find out about Jacob. Click on Jacob, and Jacob got 104.7 in Year 5, Year 6, 111.9, so there is a little bit of growth there. And ACER talks about growth not having an actual cut-off because every child is unique. So there's no set figure for how much growth they should achieve in 1 year because they've all got different stories behind how they're travelling in their learning. But Jacob then in Year 7 got 118.3. So there is growth across there. Okay, it's not significant, but it is growth. We can keep clicking through and we can see what someone up in the top, so Donna, a little bit of growth from Year 5 to Year 6, and then a big spike to Year 7. So we can check those students. We can pick someone in the middle and see how they're going. So Chloe here, 121.4 to 122.8. So still a little bit of growth, but only just a marginal amount. Underneath that, we've then got those students. Okay, so up the top there, I've got all the dots through there. I can clear them. I could then just scroll down and I could select, okay, I want to find out about Bailey. Bailey's going to be circled. There's Bailey there. Okay, and we can track how Bailey's going over time. We can see Tegan. Tegan's the square. Tegan, we can see how Tegan's going. We can also search for a student as well if we're looking for them. So the longitudinal report is very handy in having a look at the lows, the highs, and everyone tracking their growth over time. And the more testing we do, the more we can see that growth over time. So a bit of a visual to show you how you can access those. Remember the longitudinal report, you go to students first, and that's great for tracking student growth. If you want any of the other reports, you go to the reports where you'll find the band report, norm reference report, group report. You can also access the Teacher Resource Centre from your homepage of your OARS platform.